What year in high school do you think you really kind of took that next step? I know you said sophomore year you had that jump, which was during COVID, which was super weird
Mhm.
times. Was it your
Yeah.
junior year where you finally felt like, okay, I have a serious career in college if I want to, or when did that happen?
Yeah, so for me, I'll say like, okay, so playing football for me was always just like it was fun. It was extracurricular that I really enjoyed, it kept me focused. And so like I kind of always just did it. But like my junior year going into it, okay, so sophomore year, I said I was 160. So at the end of that season, that was like by far probably the hardest season for me ever. Cause like whole season, like, or just my whole life, you'll get into it and
Right.
I could just play and have fun. But like that was the first time I really faced adversity as far as football.
Yeah.
So I had gained about 30 pounds to get at least up to 190. And then coming into it, like I had just grinded really hard my sophomore year. Cause going into junior year, my goal was just to be able to like, just like start and really get film so I could
Hmm.
start. So so that was going to junior year. And then really after my junior season, like I had a pretty good junior year. And going into it, like my coaches and like even just some of my teammates are just telling me like, Jabril, like with your size and athleticism, like if you really just start taking this serious, like you have a chance to like really go play ball in college. So
Nice.
I'll say probably like the end of my junior season.
Okay. And
Mhm.
so were you playing strictly defensive tackle at that point? Or were you switching from edge or just kind of anywhere on a defense that they needed?
So like in my high school, we ran a 3-4. Like I was an N, honestly. Like
Nice.
they call strong ox, I went B gap. They call weak ox, I went C. So like I was really just doing that, and I had played in, but I didn't get moved to tackle until I got to Grand Valley.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get to Grand Valley in a second because I definitely
Mhm.
have a lot of questions about it. And then Division two, for people who don't know, Division
Mhm.
two, I would say Division two athletics in the Midwest is probably some of the best Division two talent that you're going to find in the entire
Yeah.
country. Grand Valley State, where you end up committing to in 2023, I mean, they have a really good basketball program. They're known for
Yeah.
just having great facilities and everything. So let's
Yeah.
take it to the end of your senior year or whenever you started really getting looks. Was it
Mhm.
strictly the D2 level kind of always, or what interest did you get from other levels, other schools?
So into my senior year, like so my biggest offer, I'll say, like as far as football was Grand Valley was the
Hmm.
D2. So I was getting like a lot of like NAIA and like community colleges, but like Grand Valley was my biggest offer. And even with that, like I didn't get that until Christmas Eve of 2022. So like, we didn't make playoffs. So you imagine your season end in October and in December. So like it was a lot of uncertainty, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I did a
yeah.
lot of praying, but like,
Hmm.
God came through once again. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. That's wow, that's insane. And so Grand Valley offers you um you sign with them on February
Mhm.
1st. Tell me about that transition process going from Lincoln High School where you've got, great facilities there nonetheless, but then you're going to a D2 and, Grand Valley State, great D2, great facilities, but tell me the difference and then your transition going into D2 your freshman year.
So okay, freshman year, as far as like football, so in high school, we watched film, but like it wasn't like the level of obviously what it is now.
Right, of
So it's
course, yeah.
like high school, I kind of was just out there in the motions. Like, obviously you'll be a ball player. Like when it's time to play ball, certain instincts will kick in. But like it's just
Hmm.
far as being developed, like it kind of was hard for me to get to that because with film, like a lot of times people think you're just watching it just to see where you could have went better, but like it holds you accountable.
Right.
And without that accountability, you're just gonna keep making the same mistake over and over.
Fair
So
enough. Yeah.
but like getting to Grand Valley, that was really it. Cause like shout out Isaiah Dunnan, Coach Dunnan. He
Hmm.
I think he's at University Miami, Ohio now. He's the D tackle coach there, man. Like
Nice.
he was my like first college defensive line coach, and man, did not play. Like he was very like ran a strict program. And
Hmm.
at the time I couldn't see it, but it was just because he seen the potential. So he would hold me to the same standard that he held our starters, like the time my friend JVR Suggs, he ended up leaving Grand Valley, went to LSU, and then I went to Wisconsin. And
Nice.
now he's getting ready for the league and stuff like that. Had his pro day. Same thing with Niles King. He had left us, went to San Diego State, and he's doing the same thing. So
Hmm.
it's like he helped me to the standard of those guys,
Nice.
and just
Okay.
being a freshman, like it was at the time it felt like it was a high standard, but it really wasn't. It's just that intense focus on just doing the right thing. So I guess I'll just say going from kind of lackadaisical with your coaches, kind of just everything you do is being praised. So now really being held to that high standard and accountability where it's like when you do right, everybody gonna praise you, but when you do wrong, they're gonna let you know that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will that have played high school and college sports will tell you like, high school is the last year where coaches really care about you. And it's like, no, they do in college. It's just high school is the last year where you're gonna hear a coach tell you good job every single day. And so if you
Yeah,
transition into, I played college basketball, and so that's, the first day, it's somebody that's an upperclassman that's going at your neck, and
yeah.
that is it's totally different. And so um you redshirted your freshman year at Grand Valley
Mhm.
State. Can you give me the first moment when you got there? Like, what was your kind of like almost a welcome to D2 moment when you got there?
So I'll say freshman year, so I was on scout team,
Okay.
and honestly, I forget what team we were playing, but I had a lineup against Gabe Brown. So Gabe, he stayed at Grand Valley all of his year. Well, he's from East Kentwood, like in Grand Rapids, and he originally committed to Bowling Green, but like he had
Okay.
transferred to Grand Valley, and he stayed there for I think like 3 years or something like that. But man, I ain't gonna lie, I got off the ball. It was way too high, way too high, way too high. He just drove me, like he just flat out pancaked me, and it was embarrassing, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it was, but like it built character. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. When stuff like that happens in front of everybody, you have no choice but kind of to get up, because
Yeah,
then if you pout or you complain or say that he did something, it just makes it look worse. I definitely,
yeah.
I definitely get that. So you redshirt 2023.
Mhm.
And actually, you guys went 11-2 that year and lost to the D2 quarterfinals to Harding, another great,
Yeah.
D2
Our,
program. Yeah,
yeah.
they've been good for a long time too. And so, and just to make sure that this is right, and then 2024, your next game, you played in 3 games. You quartered one tackle for loss versus who is this? Northern
Roosevelt.
Michigan, and
Oh,
then a
North.
tackle
Yeah.
against Roosevelt.
Mhm.
Can you tell me about getting playing time in those 3 games, and then maybe even some frustration that you might have been facing, thinking that you should have been on the field a little bit more that year?
No, honestly, so okay, that's one thing I could say. Like a lot of the guys that left Grand Valley that hit the portal too, we all kind of agreed on the same thing. Like at Grand Valley, people would think that it's D2, it should be easier, but like the reality of it is like it's a lot of dogs. Like people don't realize that 9 times out of 10 people are end up where they are because of like probably grades, height, like just measurements. But like
Hmm.
at the end of the
Right.
day, they're still like dogs. So I mean, it was some frustration. Like self-awareness is and maturity is me looking back and being able to realize like reality it was I just was not ready at that moment.
Fair.
But I mean the time that I would get in, like I would try my best to just take advantage of it. But like I said, it's just me being realistic. It just I wasn't ready.
Right. And that's, I
So
mean, that's very mature, and, holding accountability to yourself, and to have that answer. Because a lot of guys, redshirt, especially at a D2, or a lot of guys, even that redshirted with you, probably looked to transfer after that and thought that they should have
yeah,
been either playing as true freshmen, or that the guy in front of them wasn't that much better. I know it happens a lot, especially in basketball, especially at the JUCO level. If you redshirt as a
yeah.
JUCO freshman, that can be really, really tough too. So props for you for sticking it out. I mean, a whole season of football and playing 3 games and doing every single practice, every single drill, every single film. It takes a toll, and I think a lot of people don't realize that just because you're on a team doesn't it's not really the end goal. I think a lot of people in the stands might think that it's cool because you have a jersey on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think
Oh,
that, when you have a year where you play 3 games, you've already used your red shirt, your
mhm.
back's kind of against the wall going into 2025. So what was your mindset going from 2024 to 2025?
So like honestly, I kind of already like planned it out. Freshman year, I figured okay, red shirt. But my sophomore year in my mind, I was thinking that I was like going into it. I thought I was gonna get more time. So I'm like, okay, sophomore year, you see the guys that are in front of you. Because my sophomore year, we had a lot of like, I ain't gonna lie, I was buried in that depth chart. Like we had a lot of older guys, and just with like with them just graduating, like I knew that that spot was going to be there. I knew
Right.
that that second D-tag spot was going to be there. So my goal really going into it, so I guess around this time last year, going to that spring ball, is just like, okay, well, like, you know, just ball.
Yeah.
Like, God give you the ball, you got to hoop. So, and that was really my mindset. And like, it helped me. Anytime I was doing a workout off season or in season, like it get tough, it's, it's
Mhm.
it's that mental wall. And it's just like me thinking about what I'm trying to accomplish, where I'm trying to get to, it just would help me like
Facts.
push through that.
Yep. So in 2025, which would have been your redshirt sophomore year, you had
Mhm,
30 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, and you were named all GLIAC second team. So when you
mhm.
make, the jump to now you're, one of the highest producing players on the team, you go from redshirt to kind of, third string, fourth string, whatever you might say, to 2025, you're the guy. And not only are you the guy, but you're now the one mainly making plays. What do you think changed in your mind week to week, going from game to game, being from, okay, my number might get called if somebody gets hurt to I have to be ready that first snap?
No, I mean, I'll say I always tried to stay ready. Like even that sophomore year, I always just tried to stay ready because
Yeah,
even shout out Coach Wooster, he would pull me aside in his office and we would have our talks. Like basically, like you have to stay patient, but you're not just waiting. Like you're not just waiting for him to graduate. You still want to be ready. So it's like that. I just tried to have that mentality, and it kind of got me far because like when spring ball hit. I told myself, I didn't want to lose my spot, like starting
right.
spot, because like I said,
hmm
I knew what it felt like to just be waiting to just finally get in.
hmm
So, but yeah.
So 2024, you guys went 11-2. You went to the second round of the playoffs and lost to Harding again. Thought that was really fascinating. And then the year that you were really, really on the field, 2025, you guys go 7-3. You beat Roosevelt in your final game of the season. How what is your mindset towards the end of the season when you know that you're now not getting into the playoffs, but now it's kind of time for you to make a decision on, okay, am I actually going to be able to leave this place? Is the
Mhm.
recruiting heavy enough towards the end of the season? Or basically, my question would be, was the recruiting picking up towards the end of the season, or was it not until after the year was over when everything started to kind of fall in place?
So I think for like the schools like Wisconsin and Kansas, like they had their eyes on me throughout it, like throughout the progression.
Right.
But more and more, like, or I'll say majority of the offers didn't come until I have officially, like hit the
Enter the
portal.
portal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw when the D2 window for got people that don't know, there is a window for D2 players to hit the transfer portal before Division One. And I'm not saying that to take that away from anything, but you were the number one transfer portal
Mhm.
guy when you put your name in. Can you tell me just what that felt like seeing your name at some of the top of these rankings and
Mhm.
maybe when you were younger, you used to look at these rankings a lot, and now that you're at the top of it, what did that do to your confidence, or how did that make you feel when you first initially saw that?
No, so for me, something that I like struggle with, I kind of struggle with praise. Like I try my best not to get too high on things or like
hmm
too low. But like when that was happening, like in a moment, like I was smiling, I was
Yeah.
geeked. Like I kept thinking about it, like that's kind of crazy. And like I don't know, I still try to stay humble. Like I try to be a very humble person. So like I wasn't really doing too much with trying to show it off the most, but like it was a good feeling, honestly.
That's
Cause
yeah,
it's
that's
like
really cool.
yeah,
Sorry, I
it
didn't
felt
mean to
like hard
cut you.
work was being, no, you're good, my bad.
No,
But
you're
it just
good.
felt like the hard work was being, finally brought to light.
Yeah, that's a good point because I'm looking up your just putting you to search on Google. The first thing that pops up, of course, is your Grand Valley State stuff and then now your KU stuff. But when I went to the videos, I saw I think two or three videos of guys who just like kind of report on KU football or just college football in general had made videos about you. So I was like, oh, like this guy, somebody's been watching this guy for a while and somebody's excited to get him. Was there a specific moment that you realized that you could play at the Division One level?
I'll just say throughout the season, honestly, like I said, I had a lot of those guys that had already did it, like the blueprints for GV. Because like even outside of like the main guys that I had seen was Niles and Suggs, but even before them, like dudes like Jade Walker,
Okay.
and Isaiah Forqueer, like those dudes. So all of them were kind of just telling me the same thing, like, cause once you hit that portal from GV or just D2 in general, like you'll just know. And they
That's
just
true. Yeah.
told me
That's
basically
blood.
like it's that time, like, and you could kind of fill it out because you just don't want to be a big fish in a small pond, like not,
That's fair.
in a small pond.
Yeah, 100%. I get that. Grand Valley State, you guys are, I don't want to say a D2 powerhouse, but if you're asking somebody in the Midwest, that's probably one of the first D2s I'm going to think of when I think of best D2 Midwest schools. And now with the transfer portal is what it is. You have kind of said you knew what it was as towards the end of the season, like, okay, I'm going to be out of here. I'm going like D1. Now I just got to pick on where I want to go. How do your coaches respond to that with all of their talent pretty much kind of hitting the exit after their second or third year in the program? Are they receptive to it, or are they just kind of just try to put you guys in the best position to go somewhere, and then that's kind of how they? how they do it now.
So I mean, it's gonna be frustrating, like you said,
Yeah.
you get these, you recruit these guys. Like Wooster came to my school, came to a bunch of camps, and he personally recruited me. So it's like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
just watched me develop. So you go from that, and then you see the person that you recruited grow, and then they leave. So I mean, it's bittersweet, but like for me, what was really important is like I didn't burn any of those bridges at all. Like
That's good. That's
I
very good.
wasn't I wasn't like an a-hole about it at all. I just told them like because one of the things that we always said at Grand Valley was like five for the next 50. Like the things that you do in the next 5 years are gonna affect the next 50 of your life.
It's good.
So I didn't burn any bridges. I just told them like it's basically five for the next 50. Like I'm just trying to put myself and my family in a position that could like just help, just help the rest of my life and generation.
That's a really good way to live and to think by. You don't get a lot of younger kids to think that and to think of, what their reputation and what their personal lives look like in hindsight. But I mean,
Mhm.
that's very true. Once the season ends, it's either you're still locked in or you kind of just go your separate way. And I think a lot of guys that go their separate way with the portal, they think, oh, I'm kind of just on my own with this, or oh, I don't need any other help. And it's like, hey, either one, it could not work out for you at the D1 level, or two,
Mhm.
these are guys that you're going to be wanting to get a job from or whatever, come back and be a graduate assistant, anything that could happen. So I really do like the fact that you spoke on not burning a bridge with
Mhm.
whomever it is, because you just never
Yeah.
know what might happen in the future. Some of those guys at Grand Valley State could pop up at another school that you go to,
Yeah.
or pop up at Kansas. Like you just never really know. And I think that's a good standard to live by.